afternoon to the owners of the best league on earth, the FSL. It is Wednesday, August 30th, and this is your beloved co-historian, Micah, with a brand new take on the weekly recaps. You might be wondering why you get the pleasure of seeing my face instead of my usual keyboard trigger fingers, but just as I've since replaced taking notes by hand in class with now typing them out for work to save time, now planning to do the recaps over video. I was a little nervous about the workload and everything for this year, but I'm hoping that this is going to be a really fun way to do this every week. We'll introduce a few things over the year, have a couple guests come into this video to kick us off, but we'll see how this goes. I'm excited for it. And it's that time of year again, the dawn of a new season. We just finished arguably the best part of that season, the draft and the draft weekend. It's kind of funny how that is. It's like having dessert first, but you won't find me complaining. Had a really great time with you all, hanging out, talking shit, playing shuffleboard, which I didn't lose at over the weekend, but nobody was counting. And sucking ass at golf, but not as bad as the red team for sure. I guess being coordinated with your colors and your shirts really does make a difference. We welcome the new member to the league. Welcome, Pledge Brandon. We had some fun with our Tinker Twat Sacco. I hope you really enjoyed all of our surprises. And first go around for a new commish. Nate and Paige, we really missed you guys, but know you had bigger and better things going on. Nathaniel, if that's even your real name, your service as commish is very much appreciated and honored. I don't think there's any better way to transition out, I think. You're going from being a father to the league to being a father to a child. I can only imagine having one kid is going to be much easier than having 11 kids. And we love you guys and wish all the best to you. Now, let's get to the draft. It wouldn't be an FSL draft without Ryan managing to stir up some controversy. Luckily, this one was pretty minor and a bit of a non-issue, but trading up in your own keeper round in the middle of the draft is surely something we haven't seen before. Definitely an early test for our new commissioner, and Ryan, I am sure Kunis appreciates you. We're going to spend a bit of time talking about each team, and we're going to start off with AJ. Now, some might say that last year was a bit of a lucky run. I'm just kidding. AJ made a lot of great moves last season. He had a really solid team, and no better move than having Mike Evans against me in a butter bowl. So congratulations, buddy. It wouldn't feel right if we didn't start with the champ. So here's AJ to give his thoughts on this weekend and where he thinks his team stands heading into the season.
What up, boys? It's your champ. First of all, just wanted to say fantastic weekend up in Michigan. Vibes were great. The golf was excellent. The drinks were flowing. And, of course, we ended the weekend with a fantastic draft yet again. Got treated like royalty this weekend being the champ. So I just want to give a special thanks to Micah for helping me get there. Your contributions are appreciated dearly. As a recap for my draft, I think I'm in a good spot. I got two studs that I wanted to get at the end of the first round, and Saquon and CD. Got to keep a top 10 receiver and somebody who's going to excel with Deshaun Watson in the offense. Also got to keep a tight end that saw no less than 6 target attempts once traded to Minnesota. I got that going for me as well. Took a shot at Jonathan Taylor, thinking he'd probably get traded. That kind of bit me in my ass, but, I am happy that he is remaining a Colt, and hopefully he will want to be there at the end of his 4 weeks of not playing. Time will tell there. So Antonio Gibson, you better help me quite a bit. I'm trusting you. I'm counting on you. And I got a plethora of young wide receivers, Zay Flowers, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Jerry Jeudy falls in that category, that are going to be competing for flex and wide receiver 2 spots all season long, and really hope that the training camps and preseasons that they have really shown that they can get there. And took a shot on somebody who's suspended for just being a dumbass, but I guess we'll figure it out in 6 weeks' time if that was paid off or not. But, so late in the draft, what more can you ask for? So that's really just the biggest recap of my draft I can put together quickly, and thanks, gentlemen.
All right there, bud. If you're going to drop my name, at least put co-historian in front of it. But congratulations again. You had a really great season last year. I think you're set up pretty well this year. Saquon, Jonathan Taylor, not the best news yesterday, but pretty deep room of running backs. CD and Amari Cooper is obviously a really good combination at wide receiver with TJ Hawkinson. We'll see if the gamble to wait on quarterbacks pays off. Dak and Kirk Cousins always looks good on paper, but not really ever fun to have. So we'll see how things goes. As for my team, I, as anyone would, love how my draft went out and came to be. Justin Jefferson at 101. Thank you again. This time back to you, AJ, for the ping pong balls from your lovely contraption, for allowing me to keep my star boy. Cooper Kupp at 106. The way that the draft board fell, that seemed like an obvious pick to me. Stephon Diggs was always a good option, but just number one overall fantasy player, not just wide receiver, but overall player upside. I feel like you have to take that at that opportunity. Then Jalen Hurts falling to 306. That was an easy pick for me. Was targeting Fields in that area, but with Hurts on the board, that was a no-brainer. My top three wide receivers are the best three in the league. Love Jahan Dotson as a fourth off the bench. David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. I think that's a pretty solid rotation behind Ramondre. I think those three will keep me in there. The Muth is Luth on my team. And I'm really excited about how things turned out. I think I'm poised for another great year and really happy with where my draft netted out. Now, Josh, my fellow co-historian, my rival, also a really good draft. I mean, hard to not when you've got Jamar Chase and Jalen Waddle in the 2nd and the 7th to start it off. Probably the worst kept secret in the league, taking Bijan number 2. But I think you had a really good draft, right up there with some of the favorites preseason. Our pledge book odds will say the same, back that up. Bijan and Kenneth Walker is a really strong 1-2. This is probably the most Josh team I've ever seen. Ayuk, Evan Ingram, Trevor Lawrence. These are all just Josh guys. Had to throw in Michael Thomas for a little bit of Ohio State flair. Couldn't if you even tried. Could not if you tried, I should say. But I don't think there's any complaints from Josh based on where this draft went. Kenneth Walker might have a little bit of a question mark, but given the running backs that were on the board right there, I think that was probably the way to go. Ruin Lammering, the worst keepers maybe in FSL history, but boy did he come out on the other side in a positive way. Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs. AJ, I don't know what you were thinking just betting on Josh Jacobs at the end of the 3rd there. Ryan is happy to take him at the beginning of the 2nd. That's got to be the best running back room, at least to start, and then you supplement that with Dalvin Cook. I don't think that anybody would... Well, maybe if you want to talk depth, there might be other options that go 4 or 5 deep, but that 3 right there is really tough to beat. Strong receivers, Dallas Goedert, and we'll see what Geno Smith does. But I think Ryan had a really good draft. He put some haters to bed, but it never really was about the draft for Ryan, was it? It was really about what he does in between the season and pre-draft. So Ryan, we'll see what happens and if you can put it all together this year. Nathaniel Broughton, our former commissioner, the only one not at the cabin. We missed you there, buddy. This is where I think the draft really started for most people, at least for me. I had the first 4 picks pretty planned out, went as I expected. Wasn't sure if Nate was trying to posture a little bit and try to reach for one of the running backs, a Saquon or a Chubb perhaps. He went with Kelsey. You can't really fault the pick. With Amon-Ra and Drake London, he was set at wide receiver, so some thought he would go running back, but Kelsey, you really can't fault him there for having that positional advantage every week. He's got Mr. Shiesty at quarterback. Running back's a little questionable. Najee Harris, J.K. Dobbins, both AFC North brethren. We'll have to see how that works out. Jackson Smith and Jigba. Wow, Juju Smith-Schuster. I read that way wrong, but behind Amon-Ra and Drake London, you've got Burks, you've got Juju, Allen Lazard. We'll see how that turns out, but a little unsure about Nate's team. We'll have to see if Kelsey can really handle the load, but if he is not a far and away number 1 in the tight end position and acting more like a wide receiver 1, Nate might have some issues this year, but Kelsey at that position will keep him in most weeks. Eric, I have to say I don't hate your draft. T. Higgins, Terry McLaurin, Christian Kirk, Elijah Moore, Sky Moore. It's a pretty solid wide receiver room. Tony Pollard in the 7th is arguably the best keeper that this league has seen this year. Maybe Garrett Wilson in the 10th. We'll get to that in a bit. Patrick Mahomes, first quarterback off the board. He was unfazed by some of the things we've seen by taking quarterbacks first. In the 3rd round, 301. We'll have to see how it ends up working out for him, but I think people were scared to take a quarterback first off the board, and Eric never one to be scared by the rest of the league. Although I have to say, Breece Hall in the 2nd round just in terms of value, wasting a 2nd round pick on a guy you probably could have gotten in the late 3rd, early 4th, just based on where Dalvin Cook is supposed to be, how he's going to factor in. I don't know about that, but we'll see. Overall, Kyle Pitts, the more I'm thinking, the more I'm talking this out live on this video. I'm kind of talking myself out on Eric, but there's definitely a lot of talent, and if Mahomes is Mahomes, and he was for me last year, that's going to keep you in a lot of weeks. Jerry, a profuse panda, I should say, whatever the fuck that is. Took a lot of heat throughout the preseason, the pre-draft process, and who could blame him after just the stars and scrubs type of deal that he seems to put himself in every single year. But when you look at it on paper, he's got a really strong starting lineup. It's very thin. Javonte and Rachaad White both have their question marks, but Devontae and Tyreek Hill, Lamar Jackson, there is room here for Jared to have a pretty good season. If there are injuries to any of those top 2 or 3 guys, there's going to be problems, but we'll see how those wide receivers work out for him. Brandon, the newbie to the league, welcome. You made the 2 right keeper selections, I think, Christian McCaffrey and A.J. Brown right off the bat. Some of the other picks, nothing too bad. Isaiah Pacheco in the 5th's a little early, but if he can get a stronghold on that, I think there's value there. 2 defenses is certainly a strategy. But, Mike Williams, we'll see what George Kittle does. That's a lot of boom or bust, and that seems to be Brandon's MO. There's a lot of boom, there's a lot of bust potential here. So it doesn't look like a Sacco roster right off the bat to me, but you know what they say, if you're scared to have me in this league, you got a straight shot to Sacco. And speaking of Sacco, we've got our very own Sacco to tell us about his team, how it was like being a Sacco, and where he thinks he can go straight from the bottom.
This is Sacco checking in. I'm not going to lie to you. I love my draft, so I can only imagine how catastrophic it's going to be at the end of the season when it all just fucking hits the fan again. So, yay!
Sacco, I am making this video before I'm even receiving your little tidbit, because as a Sacco, your opinion doesn't really matter a whole lot. I'm just kidding, but I think you had a really strong draft. It's becoming a common theme of everybody. I don't think I really dislike anybody's draft. This is setting up for a pretty even season. Obviously, things will change, but it doesn't seem like there is one true person that is a true Sacco favorite post-draft, which hasn't always been the case in this league. Diggs at the 107 for you, Sacco, following that up with Mixon, Josh Allen in the 3rd. The ETN keeper to go with Mixon and James Conner. I think that's a pretty strong trio. The D-Hop keeper with Deontay Johnson, Chris Godwin, and then Diggs. I think that's really strong. If Njoku gets some connection with Voldemort, I think you're set up for a really strong year. As Jeff Saturday said himself, you are the McTinker twat. So it's not about how you draft, it's about how you set your lineup. That's always been the problem for you. We'll see if that continues this year, but I think you're set up well out of the gate. Shully, I think the glaring thing here is there is no true superstar. Jahmyr Gibbs goes a little bit earlier than everybody anticipated, but you can't really knock it. The potential is there. But if Jahmyr Gibbs is more of an RB2 and nobody else steps up to be a true RB1 or wide receiver 1, I don't know. Guys have had some success without a true superstar, and there is a lot of depth on this team. But this feels like a team of RB2s and wide receiver 2s. And if you don't have guys that can just absolutely just go off in a given week and give you some W's, it might be hard to win week to week. But, all things considered, this is a really deep, really solid team. So we'll just have to see if anybody can step up. I mean, Keenan Allen in the middle of the second might be a little early, but he is a PPR monster. The one thing I want to say is not keeping Cooper Kupp at the end of the first is certainly a choice. You can back that up or try to rationalize it however you want. But immediately after that, he comes to me after taking him and says, have fun with his injuries. I'm like, my guy, you took Keenan Allen as your wide receiver 1. So not keeping Cooper Kupp because of injury concerns and then going around and taking Keenan Allen to be your wide receiver 1 after the injury problems he had last year is certainly a choice. Trevor, we were talking about this right after the draft. I think this is one of the best drafts, definitely in top half, probably top 3. Andrews and Garrett Wilson sets you up really well. Nick Chubb, DK Metcalf, getting Herbert at the end of the 4th is fantastic. Marquise Brown, Brandon Cooks, Cortland Sutton. We'll see what those guys get. Those are all definitely veterans of the league. Not a ton of major upside, but there's opportunities for them to succeed there. Same with Madison and Robinson. This seems like I've got a few superstars. Let me get some grinders on this team. And I think Trevor has a pretty well-rounded roster. Kareem Hunt, if he goes to the Colts, that's just another piece. And I think Trevor's set up pretty well to have a good season this year. And then Kunis, our commissioner, very tough to turn off the commissioner's hat, the commissioner's brain, trying to wrangle 12 or 11 guys at the cabin and fucking idiots just screaming at each other over literally nothing. And then to come out and have a good draft is saying something. Although with the draft board that you were given, that you worked for, I guess, whether it's a Shuley trade or an AJ trade, however it happened, you were set up very well from the beginning. And it shows. I mean, having Olave and Ridley in the 7th and 10th is ridiculous. Completing that with Eckler and Aaron Jones. Justin Fields, a bit of a higher than we would have anticipated for Darren Waller, but with what we expect from him this season, I know he's kind of a preseason darling. This is a very, very, very good team on paper. The sportsbook odds, the pledgebook odds do not support that. I mean, it's just Eric's computer calculations. I'm definitely higher on Kunis than what the computer says. I think there's a lot of really good things to like about Kunis's team, and again, I don't really think there's any rosters that I really didn't like. But yeah, that does it for our draft recap here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This will definitely be the longest video of the season. This is pushing like 15 minutes or so. It might even be longer than that when I get it all edited together. But I'm kind of liking this format. I hope you guys like it too. I was a little worried just in terms of my workload about being able to write things up every week, but just letting me fucking talk, which I can do if you give me a camera and some time. Think this will be a lot easier for me. Hope it's fun to listen to watch. We'll try to get at least everybody at least once throughout the season. I know AJ and Sacco were happy to throw their thoughts in a quick video. We'll try to keep things like maybe 5-7 minutes throughout the week, just some quick hitters on some of the matchups and where things stand. But wrapping up a fantastic weekend with everybody, talking through the draft. It's going to be a little bit longer. So love seeing everybody. Love you guys. This is the best league on planet Earth. There's no other way around it. We've got marriages, we've got kids on the way, we've got engagements, we've got jobs that will work you to the fucking bone. But it's great that we still get to do this and just enjoy the game that we love and playing fantasy as we all love to do. And I'm very thankful for that. I'm sure everybody else is too. So hope everybody enjoyed the weekend and is gearing up for week 1, baby. Let's go.